All right, rewatchers, we've hit that time portal, hit the rewind button, and we are ready for our next retro rewatch.
Doing, boys and girls, we got the band back together. It's been a while, but we are back. Make sure to like, subscribe, share the podcast. Chris has been doing really great work doing the mail days, and he's also got some good shorts coming up with some interesting physical media. So yeah, like, subscribe, share the podcast. Let's grow this thing. And
Hey, so let me
today,
ask you a quick question
yeah,
before we get into the topic. Talking about the movie memorabilia tour.
mhm.
So I have a music item, we'll put it, but in the item, it has like a mini movie that plays. Do you think that goes under music memorabilia, or do you think I can put that under movie memorabilia?
It's like soundtrack or more musical.
More musical.
Yeah, it's a movie musical. Yeah, I could go into that.
I may do a music memorabilia tour off the
Yeah, why
movie
not?
memorabilia just for once. It's a very unique piece.
Yeah,
So,
I think that's great.
all right, back to the topic at hand.
There we go. Today we're gonna do top 10 underrated action stars, also martial arts stars from the 80s, 90s, 2000s. And
I am
just
really curious. I have not seen this list. So
yeah.
I'm going to be really curious because Trey has spent more time in the B movie annals of like 80s and 90s movies, like VHS, like shot film, that kind of stuff, more than I
Yeah.
have. So
Uh,
he's probably going to be carrying me this time. I just want to know more than half of these people. Like if I can do that, I'm going to feel very like accomplished,
we
let
got
alone
t
some movies.
we got 10. I think just guessing here, I think you're gonna know definitely over 50, 60%. I don't think if you know all of them, I'll be shocked. Or if you can add to
Which
it. Yeah,
So this is 10 that we're doing
yeah,
today, but the original list you said was 20,
it
right?
was. Yeah. Some of those guys I'd have to dig down deep on. I knew them, but I couldn't
All
like
right.
wing them. If
So
this
let me
goes
ask you
well, we could
this.
add those.
Yep. So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Like, not getting too deep, but are there females on this or just guys?
There is a mix. I'll say that.
There's a mix.
Don't cancel us out there. No,
I
I've been waiting on this. I'll try to carry this. Hopefully, this isn't
Yeah,
too.
I think this is a topic we talked about like last like November or
Mm,
something, and it has just been
mm,
so hard, like with just conflicting schedules, college football, NFL
mm.
football, family, holidays. This has just been rough. I didn't realize
Hurricanes.
Yeah, hurricanes. I didn't realize it was going to be so rough, like during the holidays, to try and do this. So, like, we're gonna have to like record like our holiday stuff in like March or something,
Yeah,
and just let it sit there, and then
exactly.
we'll have stuff ready to go for the holidays.
Yeah, we'll
But
tee it up, man. We just won't
yeah,
have any Christmas decorations out. That was a great transition. He actually nailed it on the head. We're going to talk about the first one. Man,
whoa, was he really the first one, or did
he
you just put
was.
him up there first?
We did not
Because
I didn't tease that at all. So that was actually a great guess.
wow, that's
Man, the myth,
crazy,
the legend, Billy Blanks, Tybo in his later years. All right, here.
dude.
If you really know this, Chris, what movie is this from? I just always thought this is a pretty
All
cool.
right. So before I make an awful attempt at a guess for the movie because I don't know, I love his guile hair. You
Oh
know what
yeah,
I'm
that is good.
saying? It's like Guile, but I don't know. Is it some kind of cyborg movie? Like Cyborg like 35 or something?
Close. TC 2000 from like
TC 2000.
1993 has
So I'm gonna
Bolo
be honest.
Yeung
I,
and
I
Matthias Hughes
honestly
in it.
I recognize this image, but I've never seen the movie. I
Yeah.
feel like this was something I'd seen like TV Guide or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. This is
All
definitely a
right.
guilty pleasure movie. Straight martial arts. I mean, of course, the acting's terrible, but he's like this TC 2000 cop in the street, one of those kind of in the streets. I don't believe there's some street fighting, but it's not like an arena type. But him and Matthias Hughes, of course, from like I Come in Peace,
Yeah.
they get into it a couple times and they're jacked in
And the
this
last
movie.
Kumite.
Yeah, Last Kumite, that was good. But yeah, Billy Blanks, 90s, of course. One of my personal favorites of his is probably Tough and Deadly with the late great Rowdy Ronnie Piper. They were also in Back in Action, but Tough and Deadly just like pretty good budget, and they were just kicking butt the whole time. It's kind of like I believe he's like an ex-military like operative, and he has like amnesia, and then he kind of teams up with kind of like a rogue detective, Rowdy Ronnie Piper, and they just kind of go against the bad guys, kicking butt, explosions. Fight scenes are great, some brutal kills.
Yeah.
Also, another one of mine is Balance of Power. He's it had Mako in it. Remember from
Yeah.
Conan the
From
Barbarian?
like Conan. Yeah.
Really good training sequences. He was doing this like pushing on the ground, push-ups. He could do these like sit-ups like here with just his triceps. Some like just he's really physically he's gifted, and then his
I mean,
kicks
you
have
can
always
tell
been crazy.
he's got some six pack there, or like some mega four pack or something going on. I just
Yeah.
I remember his cameo that he had in Van Damme's Lionheart.
Yeah.
I remember that, and of course Tybo. And I know I have seen movies with Billy Blanks in it, like back on
Mhm.
Showtime, like like Showtime at 10 o'clock at night kind of thing. But at this point in time, I could not tell you the title because it would have been one of those things I saw it and probably didn't see it again.
So earlier in his career, I'm gonna throw a little thing to you. He was actually in pretty good theatrical movie. A little hint. Do you remember him in The Last Boy Scout with Bruce Willis?
Yes, because he was the one that was running the football at the beginning, right? And
Yeah. And he goes,
shot
"Ain't
all the
life a
players and then
bitch?"
shot himself.
Yeah, that
Yep.
was him.
Yeah.
King and the Kickboxers also looks like he was a prison thug in Tango and Cash. So I mean, he did some different movies, but what I always liked about him is just his charisma. Not the best actor, but just physically, like in his jump kicks, and he was like legit karate champion. Like he could get some hang time and just a great athlete. Always enjoyed him. And then King of the Kickboxers, he was a really good villain. I mean, not the greatest film quality on that one, but that was great. Talons of the Eagle, where they were learning like Kung Fu Eagle Claw, TC 2000, back in action, like I said. And then you kind of tell when the martial art movies were kind of going down, like 96, 97, he didn't do as many roles. And as you mentioned, we watched it together. The most recent, Last Kumite, he was
Yeah.
more of a trainer type. Yeah, all in all, Billy Blanks. Any thoughts on that? I know that was a good guess.
No, I mean, other than just, he did a good job of marketing himself outside of movies too. You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
yeah,
Like I said, with the exercise workout tapes and stuff. Because I mean, it wasn't like there was one Tybo tape. I mean, he had a ton of them. You know what I'm saying? So, no, I mean that was cool. I can't believe I nailed that on the first one. Like, honest to
he did.
goodness, that's
Took
crazy.
took the thunder away.
No, it just
Oh,
made it more amazing.
it
That'll
was,
be
yeah.
that'll be my one like cool thing to add to this this
Yeah,
video.
that was good. All right, and we're going into number two here. If you know this one, you're actually pretty good. This is a little. I always followed him pretty good, but here it is. I'll let you look at it a little bit before you guess.
Jeff Speakman. So I
See there, he
remember
knew
Jeff
he knew that
Speakman.
one too, or did it say that on there?
It does. It well, no, I knew it,
Okay,
but it does have his name up there in the
okay,
JPEG. But I didn't know who it was. I don't know that I have seen any of his movies, to be honest. But I do remember him, or if I have seen him, it was probably a smaller role that I don't remember. He had a smaller role, but he was another one of those like Showtime regulars on like Friday night fight movies because I remember there was a while there they did a lot of like Albert Pune movies, and
hmm
stuff like that they would have on Friday nights, and then they'd have their
Nights.
big reveal
Okay,
on Saturday, stuff like Terminator 2, things like that. But
yeah.
he had several movies. Was there a dragon movie that he was in, like in the title? No.
I don't think so. I actually mentioned it earlier. It's kind of ironic. He was actually a security. It's got mansion security man in Lionheart. So he actually had a cameo in Lionheart with Billy Blanks too. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that is
Briefly.
crazy because I definitely didn't remember that.
Yeah, his first big claim to fame, probably his best movie, was called Perfect Weapon, and he uses his Kempo karate, some pretty good scenes. He had pretty good kicks, and he would kind of use a lot of like the hand chops, Kempo
Yeah.
karate, his different form, and he was
I
like
mean, is it
legit.
the Steven Seagal hand chops? Like he's like
Nah,
slapping
this
away
one
like a
was
baby?
more like knife hand chops, as they say, and he would do a spin kick. Like he was a better kicker than him, but didn't do like any throws.
He
So
was a better kicker than who?
he's better than Steven Scott, definitely better kicker.
Oh, I just Steven Seagal kick, if he ever does, it's probably like a mule kick to somebody's butt or something. I mean, like
Exactly.
he's definitely not a talented kicker.
Yeah.
I mean, like front kick a foot off the ground, maybe.
Right. Yeah, so Perfect Weapon actually made pretty good money, I believe. Street Night, The Expert, and then slowly went into like DVD purgatory. He actually did Deadly Outbreak, and it had Ron Silver, remember from Time Cop, was a villain. And then after that, I think he did some other stuff, but man, they were in the 3.8, 3.3, some bad sci-fi movies. And then I think he ended up just kind of being a Kempo, like grandmaster karate instructor, had a big following. Looks like his last movie was 2006. And I think he ended up maybe having like throat cancer or whatever, but I think he's okay now. But good career, good charisma. And I think I read where he had some big picture deals and just financing, and he said kind of Hollywood politics kind of slowly his career went down, but he said he had some really good like scripts that he was going to do some big movies right after Perfect Weapon because he made some money, but then I think just things kind of fell out for him. But good charisma. He had good physique back then. He spoke well, kind of had that rugged look. But yeah, it was good guilty pleasure, like some 90, mid 90s movies. But if you ever I'd say the first one if you ever taken is not ever watched Perfect Weapon. And he's got this thing, I Got the Power, where he does his kata at the first of it. It's pretty good for like 90s cheese. So number two, Jeff Speakman. Do you want to add any more on Mr. Speakman?
No, I think one thing that's going to be a consistent thing that we're going to see here, though, is a lot of these guys, they probably, if they come around in the mid 80s, they
Hmm.
probably would have had much better careers, but a lot of
Yeah.
them didn't come around until the mid 90s. And it was, kind of on a decline at that point, or like the 93, 94, 95, 96 is when they're starting to really make movies. And by then, you were,
Yeah. That was the
video
tail
stores
end
were
of it.
big, and there was a lot of stuff that was starting to go direct to video instead of direct to the theater, because there was one point in time in the 80s you had video stores, but like literally everything went to the theater, even
Mhm.
though they went to video too. But by the 90s, you had a lot of stuff that was just going direct to Blockbuster.
Oh yeah. Sandy's Video All Star back in the day. Man, this is where I
Yep. And in
got a
Waynesboro.
lot of my cheese there, man.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
All right, and then let's see, number three. It's probably another easy one for you.
The Gary Daniels.
And he's on a roll here. Hold on, what we got here? All right,
Blanks. Yep.
there he is. Third billing.
Gary
One of my
Daniels,
personal
White
favorites.
Tiger.
White Tiger, probably my favorite. We were actually talking about it the other day. Julia Nixon, remember from Rambo 2, had George Chong, one of the bad guys from Rambo 2, and it had Kerry Tagawa, Shang Tsung from Mortal
Yep.
Kombat. But anyway, like,
That the girl from Rambo 2 that you mentioned, I don't remember her name, like you just said it, but man, I'm telling you, when I was a kid, I loved her. Like
yeah,
when she was killed in Rambo 2, I mean, that was truly tragic and sad to me. Like whenever he's
yeah,
burying her in the rain and everything, like
yeah,
I wish she had been in more movies. Like, cause I really liked her. I don't know that she's a great actress, but I mean, she certainly was great for the part and what she was doing in Rambo. So
she
that's
was.
cool to know that she's in, well, maybe not so much in White Tiger per se, but another movie she's in, because I don't even know I could call another one off the top of my head.
I think she was in like a Walker Texas Ranger episode too. But yeah, I can't name too many. So yeah, Gary Daniels to me, not the greatest actor, but like kicks wise, great hook kick, spin kick. He did the jump, split kick, helicopter kick, probably vintage the Van Damme. Uh, had a lot of true action movies that were pretty good, definitely direct to video market, but like White Tiger, Rage was over the top, really good. If you see that PM Entertainment, they would have these just stock explosions with helicopters and rolling cars.
I
Yeah.
will say this though, like,
Riot
talking
was
about
another one.
these movies back then, like that, okay, they were low budget and they were direct to video and all that, but at least the explosions and stuff were good.
Yeah.
The direct to video, direct to streaming crap now that has the CG like gunfire, the CG explosions, the CG helicopters. I watched one like a couple nights ago. I was gonna watch Dominique, so I don't want to get too far off topic, but my German 4K that I actually got, that I had on one of the mail days, I had an issue. Like on the case, it says English. On the menu for the German, it actually says Spanish. It's somewhere in the middle. There's a lot of Spanish speaking because they're in Colombia, and there's a lot of English, but there's no translation, there's no subtitles. So anyway, I couldn't watch that. And so I watched a movie called Dirty Angels that was directed by the guy that did Casino Royale, and it has Eva Green in it. Oh my gosh, the movie was trash. And a large part of why it was trash was not necessarily the story per se, but just everything about it was like CG junk. And it was so bad. Like, I mean, anyway, so that is one thing that these movies would have going for them is still having real effects. You understand what I'm saying? Which
Yep.
Gary Daniels, I mean, later on he was in um more like he was in Expendables, right? The first
Yep.
one.
First one. That's correct.
Yeah. I so Gary Daniels, I feel like he had the body, you know what I'm saying? He had the talent. The thing that I feel like messed him up is he was like British or something, and his
He was from the
voice,
UK. Yeah.
yeah, his voice was not action movie manly. And I'm
Yeah.
not, I'm sorry about that, but especially going back to
I
the
agree.
80s, you got like gravelly Van Damme, you got gravelly Seagal, you got gravelly Dolph Lundgren. It just didn't fit. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So that's one of the things that was against him. Wasn't he in Fist of the North Star too?
He was. So real quick, some of the ones I would say if you haven't checked any out, so I definitely say White Tiger personal favorite had just that like 90s, even that techno music, the way they filmed it, had a pretty decent budget, some good explosions. I'd say Rage is good. Riot is also good. I would say that's a Christmas movie nobody knows about. A lot of like Christmas themes in there. Action movie goes drops in a riot zone and is going after all these guys. Patrick Kilpatrick, Sandman's in it, ironically.
That dude was in like 100 movies. It was
He,
like either the big bad or like the next to big bad or whatever. Like, I mean, he was in like Eraser with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, he was just in like everything. He was in Death Warrant. I mean, like a
he
lot.
was. Blood Moon is another like karate chop sake win that's had some really good scenes in it. Recoil is just I think there's like last 20 minutes is just him just popping necks. Hawk's Vengeance is okay, but I'd say some of those earlier in his career, Deadly Target's kind of cheesy. Another personal favorite is good, man. I'll probably wore that out watching it. Is Firepower had the late great Chad McQueen and Jim Hellweg, who's the Ultimate Warrior from wrestling. He was the swordsman, really good. And
Yeah,
he had this scene like he was like they had him all oiled up and he was like doing these katas, but he had on two chairs doing a split and he was doing all this thing while Ultimate Warrior was fighting. They kind of had like one of those montages that was really good. Pretty good fight scenes. Pretty cheesy being in the death ring or whatever, one of those. But
yeah.
Firepower from like '93 was good. He was in Knights,
Yes, yes, he
Albert
was.
Pune.
Yep,
You gave me one
yes,
of
he
those
was with
copies.
Kathy Long, Chris Christopherson.
Yep.
Yep.
And then if you like Jason Brandt's So Bad It's Good, he just had American Street Fighter. It's definitely hard to watch. But man, he did a whole bunch Capital Punishment. He did Ring of Fire with Don the Dragon, some of those other martial arts. So I mean, good career. Still making movies. I think he's had one in the last year or two, and he's got more coming up. I think he's like 60 maybe. But he still moves around, looks good for his age, but of course he's tailing in his career. But he still does some
Yep.
like starring roles, so I'll give him that. Anything else on Mr. Daniels?
No, I think that was pretty good. I'm
I
glad you
think he
brought up
did.
Knights. So it's always good to try and get Knights in there. It had Lance Henriksen. I mean, at the time, it actually had some like Chris Christopherson was an actor. I
Yeah.
mean, he was, he had done a lot of music. And then of course you had Lance Henriksen, which of course Henriksen, man, he would go from the bottom of the bottom to the highest of the high, like Aliens and Terminator and just Near Dark. It just, I don't know, man. He was all over the place.
Just get the paycheck. Good for him.
Yep.
All right, here's another one you probably know. We're not going to stump Chris too much.
Oh, Daniel Bernhardt.
Here we go.
Yep.
Bloodsport 2. He had
Well,
really good
I like
charisma.
Daniel Bernhardt, especially like his newer stuff like John Wick and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Like, I think now he's one for sure that, like, for instance, like we were just talking about Gary Daniels. This dude had the body, he had the gruff, like he had the look, I think he really could have been Van Damme light. It was just, and I mean, you see it in Bloodsport too, right? I mean, he
Yep.
was Van Damme light, Bloodsport 2, what, 2, 3, 4.
Mhm.
But I mean, I think it just kind of was the way that the times went.
He is. He ended up. He's still very active. I think he does a lot of stunts, and you see him as he's a good like villain now. Of course, like you mentioned with John Wick. It's actually one of the ones. Mister Is it one of the Mister Smiths in the Matrix? Which is a lot of people are like, "Hey, you were in the Matrix." I think he was in all of them. Agent Johnson. But what I really enjoyed him in, this is a guilty
He
pleasure of
wasn't in
mine, is
all of them.
like,
I think he was in the second and the third one or the third one.
yeah, he was in Matrix Reloaded. Look in here. He was Agent Johnson.
Okay, I was
Um,
fixing to look because, like, oh my
yeah,
gosh, he's in Red Notice. I haven't seen that. Oh, I remember him in Nobody. He was, yeah, I remember
yeah.
that.
He's had some good.
Um,
He's popped up as a play. I'm like, what is Daniel
have you
Bernhardt? And
seen Nobody?
I did. That was good. I heard they're making a
That was
sequel, maybe.
good. Yeah, that was which it happens in the John Wick universe. But anyway, like you just had me kind of thinking he's in the Matrix Reloaded for sure. Um,
So he's in Bloodsport 2. He even said in some interviews they were trying to look for a Van Damme clone. He looks just like him moved around. Bloodsport 3, maybe not as good. And then he started doing, direct to video starring roles. So like True Vengeance is another one. Pretty good kicks in that one. Had like a trench coat, and he fought with a sword at the end. Some good gunplay. That was good. Perfect Target. That was okay. When I think that was kind of filmed in Mexico, actually by Sheldon Lettich, who directed Van Damme in like Lionheart and Double Impact.
yep.
So kind of went down there. Bloodsport, the fourth one, Dark Kumite, terrible. I think they trashed it on So Bad It's Good. That one was just, man, that must have been a paycheck. That was bad. I think it gets like a 2.8. When you're in the
Wow.
twos, it's bad.
That's actually really impressive. It's so bad to get like in the twos.
Yeah, he was also in, I never saw it, but he was in Mortal Kombat Conquest TV series like 22. Is it Zero? You might know that character. Siro. Anyway, he was in that, but back to him, good presence, good looking guy, like could do all the kicks, really good hook kick, spin kick, and kind of like on the tail end, direct to video. And then he started doing like a lot of you know, stunt work, and he would do some bit villain roles, and still active to this day. He was in Chuck Norris movie, The
Wasn't he
Cutter.
in the Equalizer?
Let's see what else he's got here. He was in Santa's Summer House. That's another terrible one, 2.4. That had Gary Daniels in it. Don't waste
Wow.
time on that. John Wick, of course. Brothers, Precious Cargo, Atomic Blonde. He was in Kill 'Em All, that first Van Damme movie. That was a one. I mean, they just made a sequel they shouldn't
They
have.
just made a sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about it.
He was in Barry. He was really good villain in that. Had some really good intense scenes, which is kind of like a comedy, serious comedy. Fast and the Furious. He was in that. Nobody, like you mentioned. Red Notice. Extraction 2. Do you remember him that one? I think he had a little bit role in that one.
I don't. I mean,
He was
Extraction
in
2 is excellent.
Equalizer, the
I've seen it
TV
two or
show.
three times,
Yeah.
but
Got 5 upcoming movies. Yeah, Daniel Bernhardt, another good like '90s action guy, still working to this day. Looks like he's still in pretty good shape. So, um, good for him. All right, and we're going to the next one. Let's see if you know this
yep, no. I
about
don't
this
know
gentleman.
who that is.
All
Not at
right,
all.
got Chris on this one, but I'll jump in. Not the best kicker, legit kickboxing champion from back in the day, but Don the Dragon Wilson.
Well,
They,
okay. I know the name Don the Dragon Wilson, but I don't know that I've seen a movie with him in it.
yeah. 90s, kind of in that like Richard Norton, Cynthia Rothrock realm, like churned him out, active career, legit kickboxing champion. Not the greatest
Cynthia
actor,
Rothrock on this. Well, I tell you, don't tell me. We'll get if it pops up, it'll pop up.
but he was pretty much known for early in his career. I think they made what, six, seven, eight of them. I forget. Is the Blood Fist, which is basically a ripoff of Bloodsport.
Okay.
But good charisma. Pretty, you can tell he's pretty good shape at the time. But maybe not the flashiest kicker like me. Gary Daniels, maybe Billy Blanks had better kicks, but he kind of had that like kickboxing. But he had like black belt, Ring of Fire, future kick. I mean, all these are in the fours. I think one of his better ones was Red Sun Rising. That one got in the fight like 5.3. Lion Strike, he was actually a gang member in Batman Forever, Virtual Combat. He had Blood Fist, Seven Manhunt, Cyber Tracker, Night Hunter, which is a vampire martial art movie. Terminal Rush. I mean, his active career, and then as you know, just slowly like dwindled down in the late '90s, and then I think he was pretty active. He doing he's in Walker Texas Ranger. So all in all,
A lot of
pretty
these
good.
guys have popped up in Walker.
Yeah, oh, tons of them. I mean, if you just bring him in as a villain and let him have a fight scene with Chuck, man, that was an episode right there.
Yeah, probably better than David Carradine.
Yeah. Some of his most recent Showdown in Manila. He's actually speaking of he's actually going to be in Black Creek, filmed in 2024, like a funded stealth. What is it? A self starter movie with
Like a GoFundMe or something.
Yeah, GoFundMe with Cynthia Rothrock. That's like a passion, but he's got 6 upcoming movies. So good '90s guy. Go check all those out if you can. But John Dragon Wilson definitely made himself a career. Not the greatest actor, but interesting for sure. Anything you want to add on Mr. Wilson?
I think
That's the
you
first one I think
covered
I
it.
stumped Chris on.
Yeah. I should have just thrown out Don the Dragon Wilson just to do it, but
Moving along here, this might be a little tricky one for you, but I always kind of like this dude. All right, how about this guy?
is that Mark
Oh,
Dacascos?
boom, good call.
Yeah. Mark Dacascos. Again, John Wick. John
He
Wick
is.
2 or 3. I think it was 3. No, I don't know. I can't remember which John Wick he was in. I know he was in that Crow TV show. Was he the one that was in Only the Strong?
All in the strong. I was about to say you nailed it. That to me, personal favorite. I've seen that probably more than 10 times. Like really good shape that movie, but his kicks with the capoeira, like the spinning around kicks and the shape he was in, actually directed by Sheldon Lettich again, 1993. I think they gave it a big push, and something happened with it. He was working on Double Dragon and couldn't do like promotion for it. It's really weird. He said he wished he could have, and I don't know if it really got a big marketing push, but to me, really good, like under the radar movie. It gets 6.5.
Well, man, that Double Dragon movie that actually got
That,
made,
that was crap.
I don't think the two leads even knew martial arts, did they? I mean, one of the guys was from like Seventh Heaven or something like that. Scott Wolf, maybe was that who it was?
Yeah, Scott Wolf, they probably taught him, but then he was Jimmy Lee in it. Mark Cascus is legit
Yeah,
karate champ. Double Dragon. He did Redemption, Kickboxer 5, which is I guess after Sasha Mitchell, and he did a lot of like direct to video movies. Crying Freedom gets 6. I remember Sabotage. I watched that. DNA. Drive was another one if anybody's checked that out. It's got Kareem Hardison from The Different World. Remember the guy who used to have the flip up glasses? He's of course older than, but
yeah.
dude, really good fight scenes in that movie. Drive. That's another like guilty pleasure. Looks like Redline with man, who's the guy from Blind Fury? Rutger Hauer, late great.
Rucker Hauer, yeah.
Sanctuary, The Base. He did do looks like 22 episodes of The Crow Stairway to Heaven. Not bad. I remember watching it just because it was on TV, but maybe I thought it was a little miscast. But
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I only saw one episode that I can recall, and it did not really speak to me. I didn't really like it, so that's why I only saw the one.
but a really good kicker. Had pretty good charisma, different look. But he's had an active career, but pretty much done some crap, man. I Omega 3.3, Alien Agent 4.0, been very active, and he's done some bigger movies like you mentioned. He was actually in Mortal Kombat Legacy 2. He was Kung Lao, so I guess he did 4 episodes of that, whatever spinoff series that was.
I'm trying to remember.
Um, he
There
was
was
in
a Mortal
he was in
Kombat
John Wick Chapter
something
3. Go ahead.
3.
Sorry.
That's what I thought. That he was kind of goofy in that. I mean, he was kind of like one of the final boss kind of people that John Wick had to fight.
Yeah.
But there was a Mortal Kombat that was kind of. It started out as a web series. It had like Michael Jai White, and it had some other actors that again are kind of sort of known in those circles. And those were really good. Like the first 9 or 10 of them, they put them out on Blu-ray, and then there was a second series that was not as good. But they were not horrible, but they were not as good as the first set. And I don't know, the parts that had like Michael Jai White in it though, like it almost looked like they were going to be making another like. I mean, they did make another theatrical Mortal Kombat down the way, but like at the time, it looked like they were going to make one that was going to be a lot more gritty and graphic, and then it just wound up being the webisodes that they were doing.
Yeah. Yeah, all in all, he was good. He's still active to this day for good for him. But yeah, I'd say definitely memorable. Like Only the Strong Drive. But Only the Strong is probably my personal favorite. I wouldn't mind watching that again. That'd be another
Yeah,
one,
you
Chris. I know you're always looking for some hate to say non-woke old school action. Some of these, if you can find a good copy, I think at least cheap, it'd be
you
worth it.
I don't remember if it was for a birthday or what, but you gave me and Only the Strong on DVD.
Oh, did it? Well,
Yep, sure did.
very nice.
Christmas, birthday, something.
That's the end of the part one of most underrated action stars and martial arts stars of the 80s, 90s, 2000s. That's part one. Part two is coming up. And as always, make sure to like, subscribe, share the podcast. We'll see you on the next video.